In October 1969, a student of the Ukrainian Agricultural Academy from Kenya, James Gekeo, 28, went missing. 3 weeks later, his body was found in a pond on the outskirts of Kyiv. The official examination revealed that the death was non-violent, but African students didn't believe this. They were convinced that it was a racially motivated murder, hidden by the authorities. From the letter of one of the students to a fellow countryman studying in Leningrad.
The death of a Kenyan was a blow to all of us. He was found in a ditch where a 3-year-old child could not drown. His teeth were broken, his body was disfigured.
Another foreigner wrote that Gekeo was kidnapped and killed by a local gang. On November 12th, the coffin with Gekeo's body was sent home by plane. The next day, most of the approximately 800 African students in Kyiv didn't attend classes. They demanded to send a commission of the Ministry of Higher Education from Moscow, which will understand the problems of Africans. Security guarantees in Kyiv from the mayor of the city and the leadership of the local police. Search for the Gekeo's killers. Students said that they were ready to continue the boycott and even leave the USSR if their demands were not heard. A rally along the main street of Kyiv, Khreshchatyk, was planned on November 17.
The Africans allegedly made the appropriate banners in Russian, English and French, which they intend to carry during the procession.
The KGB knew about attempts to convey information about the incident to British and Chinese correspondents in Moscow. Similar events have already happened in the Soviet Union. In 1963, the body of Edmund Asare Addo, a student from Ghana, was found near Moscow. According to the official version, he was drunk and froze in the snow. The Africans were convicted that Asare Addo was killed for carrying a Russian girl. About 150 people gathered for a protest in Red Square, which, recall, was almost impossible. Information about that came to the Western media. In 1969, the Kyiv KGB successfully tried to prevent the protest from being publicized. The demonstration didn't take place. At the next meeting, there was a split among students on the tactics of further struggle. Several high-ranking Soviet officials met African representatives and listened to them, which reassured some protesters. The boycott lasted 4 days. These meetings and negotiations with government officials didn't solve the problems of black students in Kyiv. In 1971, the KGB intercepted and seized the letter on behalf of African students sent from the Ukrainian capital to the BBC headquarters in London.
There is a terrible discrimination against black students. The authorities here go so far as to create an atmosphere of enmity between African students, who are classified as second-class people, Asians and Arabs, who are considered to be of a higher caste. There are many hooligans who beat black students, especially during the evenings, if they want to take a walk with a white woman or a girl. The Soviet government cannot deny this, as the police provide support to the hooligans. Repeatedly, there have been cases when police arrested girls who were in the rooms of African students. They insulted those girls, and many of them were fired from their jobs. In many institutes and universities, girls were expelled only because they came into contact with black students. In March and early April, at the Institute of National Economy, for example, there were 6 clashes between police and African students caused by discrimination.
A month later, the Secret Service reported that it was able to specify the author of the letter. He turned out to be a student of the Kyiv Institute of National Economy from Tanzania, Nelson Chidua. How was he punished?
We would consider it appropriate to study the possibility of not giving Nelson Chedua a Soviet university graduate diploma.
Despite such a soft wording, we can have no doubt that Tanzanian didn't receive his diploma. These are not the only cases that I could have found in the archive. It is unlikely that the situation in other Soviet cities where Africans studied was somewhat different. Of course, local newspapers were silent about such incidents, and the Soviet representatives, having heard uncomfortable questions from the Americans, answered over and over again, "What about racism in the USA?"